They can pop off in the big moments, so I have no doubt they will.
They can pop off in the big moments, but they're not necessarily known for getting VRs in moments that really matter. If they have to go to that last chance qualifier on Tuesday, that's going to be really tough for them. They have to get a VR to get through to the grand finals, and they might need to get a VR right now. Let's head into game 5 with 11 and
They can pop off in the big moments, so I have no doubt they will.
They can pop off in the big moments, but they're not necessarily known for getting VRs in moments that really matter. If they have to go to that last chance qualifier on Tuesday, that's going to be really tough for them. They have to get a VR to get through to the grand finals. They might need to get a VR right now. Let's head into game 5 with 11 and
would much rather find themselves secured and acquiring that
moments, but they're not necessarily known for getting VRs in moments that really matter. If they have to go to that last chance qualifier on Tuesday, that's going to be really tough for them. They have to get a VR to get through to the grand finals. They might need to get a VR right now. Let's head into game 5 with 11 and
would much rather find themselves secured and acquiring that
moments, but they're not necessarily known for getting VRs in moments that really matter. If they have to go to that last chance qualifier on Tuesday, that's going to be really tough for them. They have to get a VR to get through to the grand finals. They might need to get a VR right now. Let's head into game 5 with 11 and
would much rather find themselves secured and acquiring that
moments, but they're not necessarily known for getting VRs in moments that really matter. If they have to go to that last chance qualifier on Tuesday, that's going to be really tough for them. They have to get a VR to get through to the grand finals. They might need to get a VR right now. Let's head into game 5 with 11 and
would much rather find themselves secured and acquiring that
they're not necessarily known for getting VRs in moments that really matter. If they have to go to that last chance qualifier on Tuesday, that's going to be really tough. But they have to get a VR to get through to the grand finals. They might need to get a VR right now. Let's head into game 5 with 11 and
clearly much rather find themselves secured and
they're not necessarily known for getting VRs.
And they need to get some form of momentum, whatever it takes to be the catalyst to their game plan, even if it's going for a surprise contest at teams further north. Any tiny little advantage, this is where it's essentially the last stop before the last stop of the last chance lobby.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? For Kidua and Prax, the decision making was clear. We are way down in the standings. The only hope for us to get out of this heat is through a win. We need to secure and guarantee ourselves surviving off spawn. And like we talked about earlier, Taco, when you move POI, you're still at risk of just moving into another contested situation.
For
this
sure.
one seems to be paying off a bit better for them so far.
And that's the real takeaway, I think, is just knowing that, Prax, if you're at least going to opt for that kind of challenge, you may as well close it out. But Shark and Teeny, they have been very adventurous. They're now tied for Shark's OG record of second places, and I don't think that's the kind of record you want to beat, Levin.
No, definitely not. I think ultimately, again, it will be fine because they're qualified, they've made it through, and you know, some of the second places haven't been the worst, right? Like there was the one they definitely should have won in game, was it game 3? Well, no, that was game 2, right? Game 2 was the one that they definitely should have won. And I think all the others have sort of been like, you know, 1v2s. We'll give you those. On your day, you probably do win those because you are just so good, but it's fine. I'm not gonna lie. This needs to be big for Zania Buck. They were one of the teams I sort of had on my radar as like a sneaky consistency qualification team here. And it's not out of reach, obviously, but not a really great spot to be in whatsoever.
Part of the problem is just that so many other teams have decided to sort of step up to the plate. Anytime they hear action, it just looks like, you know, it's like piranhas swarming to an area. Everyone just recognizing when they have even the slightest chance to get an elimination, and they're willing to take it. Pablo Chino opening up strong here. That Elim onto Cantry, but that's a tough break you're on the receiving end of that type of aggression.
Pablo and Chino, it's been hard to pinpoint what's been going wrong. We obviously saw them last game really struggling on the Surge side of things, which again seems odd for a team who's been landing Sinister all season. Very familiar with the spot. These games have been unpredictable at times, especially with all the fighting and chaos going on over at Heat Wave and that affecting how people rotate through the southern area.
Skrill and Scrap though. This is not going to be easy for either of these duos. Scrap though, just taking a little bit too much damage. We forced to fall back with Matisse, also incredibly injured. The Squeal calls for a lull in the action here between these two teams, but Skrill, Strapped, they know that they're working against the clock here in this final lobby, because everyone is going to start to become much more aggressive, much more reckless. Just every last shred of opportunity going to be immediately encroached upon, as now Doom and Matisse, they're kind of stuck in the same box. They're not the only ones either. Swizzy and Pixie also trying to see where they can pull things out in the final hour against Six and Wurs.
Mumsy and Skyjump, another team I think who, in this final game, is going to be doing everything in their power to just hold on, right? Hold on and push ahead. They don't want to be one of those teams sort of waiting with their fingers crossed after the game to see if they've managed to sneak their way in. I felt like they started the day strong. They had a 4th place in there in game 2. You saw them make some aggressive plays that seemed beneficial. But now, they look to make this final game count. Let's see where the scrapping's taking place though. Swizzy, Pixie, they're looking to jump into the heater battle. Another team that probably is just sort of skating their way through today, Taco, right? It doesn't feel like we've necessarily seen them doing anything too impressive, right? It's not been like a Shark and Teeny day where it's felt like they've been so close to the win, but they've also just not been bad. They've made it to end games with some consistency and been a threat on mid ground at times. We saw Pixie getting PC earlier, right? So they've not had the worst of days. But I think one thing's for sure is next weekend they will surprise quite a fair amount of people. Definitely a team to always have on your radar with the quality of these two players. Saya's scary. We see them in the end games a lot of time, Taco. We've not necessarily seen much of their mid games today, but I guess it's been a lot of this if I had to imagine what it's been like.
They've still had at least enough big point conversions in these end games to leave it so that it's much less a chance. Their fate's kind of in their own control. Now it's just about whether or not they can solidify things with the victory royale to end the day. Might also do a pretty big favor to other teams in the lobby here, but Sharktini, they're not looking to do anyone a favor. They are just going fully on tour in this lobby. 4 eliminations already, 3 of them being on Teeny. And it is just relentless aggression from these two. They don't seem even the slightest bit deterred whether or not one of them gets eliminated early on. It just doesn't seem to make much of a difference to their ultimate game plan of just duking things out from start to finish.
Yeah, last game they had an 18. So wouldn't be surprised if they're just trying to push for as many as possible. They want to drop the 20 and end it out. This would be the best game for them to win now, right? You know, it's like, hey guys, we were just messing with you guys all day. Let's get this dub now. And I did say that I was like expecting them to probably end the day with an 150-point lead, which was me sort of just, you know, saying it blasé, but an 100-point lead going into this final game, if they keep their aggression on, it might just end with that type of a lead. Okay, the fighting continues, and this is a fight against a team that cannot allow this to happen. Skydump and Mumsy sat on that threshold going into this game, were just behind it, and just like that, their chances of playing in the grand final next weekend will come down to the last chance lobby. TD and Shark breaking hearts here in game number 5.
French duo definitely not going to be happy with that one, but we have seen them bounce back in those last chance environments in the past, so potentially able to do it yet again, but that's the future right here, right now. Trying to gauge whether or not some other teams might be able to join those who have already qualified the Victory Royales on the Major 2 Grand Finals Battle Bus. Shark and Teeny, though, you would think that there would be some point that they might choose to slow down, but no. Even just looking at the lobby currently, is Teeny maybe second guessing. He'll leave the rest up to Shark, close things out. 8 eliminations altogether between the two of them, but more importantly still, Levin, it's the fact that this has got to be one of the quickest lobbies that we have seen here today. Normally we're used to seeing at least 60-something players up by the time we make it towards the secondary partial zones even, but none of that in this final game. The gloves are off. Everyone is just honestly throwing punches whatever direction they feel might bode best for them.
Yeah, and it's a tough spot to be in, right? Especially when you're one of the teams who you're actually just sort of right behind the threshold, right? You're sort of in and amongst it, and a good game for you could be enough to push you into the top 10 consistency. For Tus and Kami, we've got to be careful here now. Managed not to completely get taken out by the players camping in the bush. We'll stay rotation for the meantime.
And that's the thing, I was just about to say, they're just hovering, they're teeter-tottering, that fine line between just making it in and just being out. And it's so difficult to actually overcome that boundary because it all seems so simple on paper. At the end of the day, how hard could it realistically be to come top 10 in placements? And yet here we are staring down Chino and Pablo, who are in that exact position, a duo that you would never imagine would find themselves in this sort of position, potentially having to hinge their hopes of Major 2 Grands on a last chance lobby.
Yeah, it's not the ideal spot to be in. And I mean, again, the urgency really has to kick in. I'm not gonna lie to you, Taco, I still feel like my brain hasn't calibrated to the fact that like Major 2 is the last major. You know, I'm still so used to us having the Major 3. So I'm like, if you done Major 2, it don't matter, man, you're good. You still got Major 3. No, you messed this major up. You obviously got the last. missing a bit of why they will be a threat come next weekend. I don't expect to see them play this way next weekend, mind you, but you know they got it in their locker if need be. A really rough start to a game where they really need to start to claw things back and have a big game to save their grand finals. And so in many ways, like, this is a bit of practice for that scenario for them, right? As far as what do we got to do to just drop a 20 bomb in a stacked lobby. This lobby may be a bit less stacked than the others we've seen, like you highlighted, but nonetheless, still so many people in this lobby playing for their season right now, playing to keep the dream and the hopes alive.
Might be headed next. And one thing's for sure is that Shark and Teeny have been very, very aggressive towards trying to overtake the high ground. So if you are one of those teams that's sort of hovering just outside that placement consistency zone, maybe height is not exactly going to net you any favors this game. And for Swizzy, Shark and Teeny, just gonna put him in the dirt. They're not gonna give him the chance. Pixie to try and see whether or not he can recoup. Shark and Teeny, they are just fighting their own separate battles. Two players working as individuals right now, but still functioning the same to contribute points to their overall count, because every single fight that they've started, they've managed to finish.
Yeah, these guys are gonna be a big problem, because this is a game where people will be trying to take height, or at least you think people will want to try and take height desperately to save their tournament. And if these guys are already up there waiting to fight you, they want the scrap. That's the thing. They want the fight with you right now. And that becomes really problematic. Pixie is so down below on Surge that I don't think there's much hope for him here.
This is where he knows if he just had Swizzy next to him.
Much hope for him here.
This is where he knows if he just had Swizzy next to him. Doesn't seem to be the case here. It's HP still getting ticked away at steadily. He'll be forced to open up, look for an aggressive edit, and just hope that he doesn't receive any punishment for it. But only a couple of seconds left to go, and Pixie will find himself cut short.
huge for them. They need a big game to keep themselves in on that consistency front.
We saw exactly what the Deal and Jew had just been looking at. The glimpse over towards the high ground. Shark and Teeny appeared to have control of it, but Kiro walks from underneath. Pablo, Chino,
they need a big game to keep themselves in on that
alive here into these final moments, but walks Kiro. They've got to try and match the steps here. Exactly what the Deal and Jew had just been looking at. Has lost Jew. The glimpse over along the way here, though, and Teeny appeared to have control of it, but Kiro walks from underneath. Pablo, Chino, placement point now. Starting must arrive here into these final moments, but walks Kiro. Actually be enough to try and match things. The steps here. Time will tell is now Pablo, Chino just behind. Somewhere along the way here, though, and Teeny appeared to have control of it, so rapidly at every single placement point now. The fact must arrive here to these final moments, but watch Kiro actually be enough to try and match things.
To keep themselves
Time will tell is now Pablo, Chino just
in that top 10 consistency. They're taking out their biggest competition to try and steal a spot away. If they can continue to hold on, as Shark and Teeny finally drop the 20 and look to try close out the day with a win. They're jumping into boxes. They know they need every elim they can get. Kiro won't hold on for much longer. Chino will finally take him out, and those 4 elims and this placement that they have acquired might just be enough to secure them that spot in the finals if they can keep holding on.
Knowing Shark and Teeny, though, these two have probably entered their own competition along the way, but Pablo, he's gonna catch Teeny off guard. Shark, though, quick to the punch, quick to punish. And that might just be a revive opportunity. A great attempt there, though, from Chino and Pablo to try and overtake on Height. But they've been chopped. Shark hasn't managed to get the full revive off just yet. And instead, another duo going to look to try and overtake on Height. Shark as a solo, can he actually bring this one out?
It's the 1v1. Shark to win out the game. They've come second place way too many times. They've been in touching distance. And now the young Shark has the opportunity to show the world that they mean business this season. Boris will be way deep in the storm, and it will leave the opportunity for Shark and Teeny to win the game. 23 elimination win after their previous 18 elim second. These guys are a different gravy tackle.
Hey, better late than never, after all. Shark and Teeny, we already knew what they were capable of, but good to see them actually build that victory royale in the final hour. But still, Frankie, Takada, Mini, everything that you guys saw, I want to hear it.
I saw cinema, and I want to go back for seconds, guys. Project it, 70mm IMAX. Move over the Odyssey, because Shark and Teeny are in town. They're going to the grand finals. That was never in doubt before they played a single game. The fact that they were just, the momentum, they were just unstoppable, Takata, makes me so excited to see if they can take Major 2 by force next weekend.
Yeah, I mean, 3 second places, hat trick second place, finishing off with a victory royale that got, what, 23 eliminations throughout the day. They might have made history in heats with the amount of eliminations they got. Their only bad match was a 24th place. Despite that, doesn't even matter. They set history today. Nothing you'd expect less from Shark and Teeny. What a way to close it out, Mini.
Yeah, really great job from these.
It was trios, but Chino Pablo, who almost didn't qualify today, qualified through last chance and then got second in the major finals. So still a big opportunity for everyone that didn't make it through the heats in that last chance, but still 2 more heats as well to be played out throughout this weekend, Minnie.
Yeah. Mini.
Yeah, no, I can't wait. Yeah, it's going to be great. I mean, if today's anything to go by, I'm sure tomorrow and, of course, Sunday are going to be absolutely electric. We've got so many big names still coming up as well. This lobby was a stacker. Tomorrow's is a stacker. Every single day is going to be hype. And, of course, those wins, those first-time FNCS Grand Finalists, I'm excited to see if we can name any more.
Over there? Mine too. Get prepared for pain! I'll get you for this!
celebrate.